welcome back. Now, before we even get into the conversation, let's even give you a background understanding through youth participation in politics. Well, youth participation is central to the growth and sustainability of Nigerian democracy. In Nigeria, where young people make up a significant proportion of the population, about 70% of the population, their involvement in politics can strongly influence elections, public policy, leadership, and national development. Nigeria needs a political environment where young people are participants, not merely spectators or campaign crowds. Political parties should create meaningful opportunities for youth leadership, while government and electoral institutions should strengthen civic education, political inclusion, electoral integrity, and youth representation. The role of youth in politics goes beyond voting during elections. Young Nigerians have the potential to shape policies, provide leadership, demand accountability, and influence the country's future. A politically conscious and actively engaged youth population can become one of Nigerians' greatest assets for democratic development and national transformation. Well, I'm being joined tonight in the studio by the person of Comrade Isaac Owocho, who is the National President of the Redemption Youth for Good Governance. I will be helping us put these issues in perspective. But first, it's a delight to have you join me on Korero, Comrade Isaac Owocho. Good evening.
Good evening, the pleasure is mine.
Well, Comrade Owocho, let's even begin the conversation by first x-raying Nigerian politics and, of course, looking at youth involvement in politics. 25 years after, into the current political circle, how would you assess the level of youth participation in governance across Nigeria?
Honestly speaking, I would like to say that the participation of young people in Nigerian politics since the inception of democracy is poor. It is opposed to the expectation of a lot of people because Nigeria is dominated with the younger people currently, but the participation of the young people in politics currently is not something to write home about. I'll give you a statistical analysis drawing my logic from the last election, the 2023 election. I think on the INET portal, we had over 37 million young people who registered for the election. But at the end of the poll, we had just 11 million young people participating in the voting process. So now you discover that those who voted are not commensurable to those who registered to vote in the election. So it draws us to a point of thinking, what could be the problem? Why young people have disengaged themselves from the Nigerian political scene?
Well, a lot of us will say that Nigerian youth would rather prefer appointment other than getting involved in governance. How correct is this assertion?
I don't think that assertion is correct. Why appointment? Nobody would prefer appointment to being elected.
So you think Nigerian youth right now are prepared for leadership?
Nigerian youth are prepared, but the stage is not clear enough.
What do you mean the stage is not clear enough? Because looking at it from 1999 till date, we've had a lot of young persons, youth as they call themselves, become occupying sensitive positions in the country. But then, 8 years after occupying those offices, it tends to be the norm. The political culture tends to be a reoccurring phenomenon and a common decimal factor. By this, I'm asking, are the youth of Nigeria ready for politics? Are they ready for leadership? Or they're just waiting for a appointive position to stay afloat?
I wouldn't say the Nigerian youth are not ready, and I wouldn't say they are ready in totality. And because there are factors leading to the fact that they are not ready. Over the years, we've had, in fact, the former president, precisely, President Muhammad Buhari of blessed memory, who came up with the policy of not too young to run. But the question is, you are bringing a very good policy for the inclusion of youth in politics. How convenient is it for the young people to run election? Let's take the ruling party, for example. To get a ticket to run for the seat of the president, for example, you need to be a multimillionaire. to actually get a ticket. What is the provision for the young people to participate in such party? Talk about the PDP, talk about the major parties. The youth in Nigeria really don't have the money to buy the form, let alone run for the election. So I think the stage is not too clear for them to run. If there is a policy for independent candidates, for example, then I think the Nigerian youth can actually canvass for just one individual to run for the seat of the president, or to even run in their individual states for the seat of governorship, not just appointment.
Well, so you're saying at this point that the not too young to run act in itself is faulty. Is that what you're saying?
It's faulty in totality.
But then the not too young to run act gave rise to the YPP, which is a political party that's supposed to be an umbrella body for all youth. And also, it also opened up the platform for youth saying at this point that the not too young to rule act was a total failure. Is that what you're saying?
Now, when you say you are creating a policy that encompasses the generality of the young people, you should start from your home. Let's start with the APC, not the YPP, not the AA. Now, within the realm of the APC, within the realm of the PDP, how possible is it for the young people to vie for the position of governorship or president? Except maybe they may have possibly come from a very wealthy home. But a common man like you and I, with all of our good intentions, may not have the privilege of getting the ticket to run. Now, YPP, for you to actually run for a very pivotal position in the country, you need to have so much money as far as the Nigerian political scene is concerned. You need to engage with different states. You need to engage with different political gladiators. You need to engage and rally around support for yourself in order to emerge victorious. Except you are telling me that, okay, on the second thought, how ready are the young people for the position of, let's say, president? Because no matter how powerful the young people seem to be, there are certain positions where they can easily influence policy than other positions. On appointment, you are existing on the dictates of the man who appointed you. You understand? So, but if the Nigerian youth, one can actually be picked to become the president, you discover that policies can be shaped. On the second thought, I would say again that the Nigerian people are already discouraged with the political order that is existing currently. So because of that, they are disengaged from the political activities in totality.
So by this, you're saying financially, the youth are not ready.
They are not ready
to even occupy sensitive position. But then looking at leadership for what it is, and where we are as a country, if we take away the financial constraint, can Nigerian trust the youth to move this country forward based on your own assessment?
Why not? Prior to independence, the likes of General Gowon, led this country as youth.
Well, a lot of people will say that Gowon led the country as a youth because morality was the order of the day. Right now, that a lot of Nigerian youth have derailed and they can be bought over easily. But is that the stand?
Well, I don't understand what you mean by morality. Well, you are talking about globalization, you are talking about civilization, you are talking about a change in the global scene. Are you not morally sound enough to rule the country?
Well, I'm a journalist, so let's stay with that.
All right.
But then looking at the Nigerian youth right now, if the country is being handed over to a person, let's say give or take, of 35 years, you think that person can pilot the affairs of this country just like Gowon when he was 29? Piloted the affairs of Nigeria. Also, Nnamdi Azikiwe and the rest of them were able to make things happen. Do you think the Nigerian youth right now can deliver with such vigor as it was then?
Well, you cannot preempt the future that has not yet happened until they are given.
Let's go with the realities.
Yes, going with the reality, we still have young people with integrity in the country. People can still change the narratives, the political narratives. First, they need to be given the opportunity. Then you can begin to criticize the successiveness of the Nigerian youth when it comes to political participation or political performance. We have not been given a chance. So we cannot preempt the future that has not yet happened. But I am optimistic that if Nigerian youth is given a chance to champion the affair of the country, they will do exceedingly well. Now let's go into different sectors of the economy. When you move into technology, the technological world is being run by young people. Now we are in the jet age, and the world has changed and been reshaped by technology. So when you bring young people to the political stage, what you get to enjoy is that you see innovation, you see creativity in a different dimension. But when you continue to rigmarole around the old people that have been there before, returning back to rulers in their old age, what you enjoy is the old normal. So if you want a change in narratives, then you have to give a chance to the young people to run.
Well, Comrade Isaac, let's go by the statistics. INEC have come out to say that about 70% of their registered voters are young people. 70%. Let's go with that figure. I'm curious, why is it so difficult for young people that make up that significant share of registered voters to be unable to come together to decide the future of Nigerians? Why do they still struggle to influence the political outcomes beyond election day?
I would say emphatically that currently there is electoral deformation
in the country.
Nigerians are not enlightened enough when it comes to electoral education.
Well, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. You know, because in the social science space, they'll say vagueness and subtlety seems to characterize most concepts. So when you say political deformation, it sounds like a new terrain within the political science field. Help us understand, what do you mean by political deformation before you move on?
You were a young man like me. When you walk through the streets, or when you find yourself in the beer parlor, or when you go to the market space, where you find a lot of young people, you discover they tell you that vote do not count. That is already sold out psychology in the minds of a lot of Nigerians already. Secondly, the propaganda that if you are not in the ruling party, you hardly can make an impact, significant impact. It's a propaganda already. Now, already a lot of Nigerians tell, it's coming from YPP. You can't do anything. The ruling party is APC, is PDP. So that psychology already has defeated the participation of young people or producing a young person on the most significant stage of politics already. So it begins with electoral education. We must have to go back to our schools and incorporate electoral education where young people get to know their vote is their power. And again, you wouldn't blame the Nigerian youth because currently electoral malpractices, snatching of ballot boxes by the power brokers has become the order of the day. Most parents wouldn't want their kids to go and queue and vote because they still love their kids. Stay back at home because at the end of the day, you go to vote, you return back with blood on your body. So as a good parent, you wouldn't really want to encourage your child to participate in the electoral process. So first, we must have to return back to our foundation. We must have to redefine the Nigerian value, the Nigerian dream. We must have to let Nigerians believe the credibility of the electoral process, where everybody has an equal chance to participate, and if credible enough, can emerge victorious. Nowhere at the end of the day, money by the power brokers become the decider of the election. We have had chains of elections in the country, where at the end of the day, the hungry youth are being bought over. You wouldn't blame them much. A man that has not eaten for the past 1 week, seeing 10,000 naira, he sees it as a miracle. The economy is not stable enough. In the Western world, nobody gives a damn to who the governor or the president is because everyone is faring well. So independent decision can easily be made. But in a country where people are already crippled economically, crippled psychologically, crippled emotionally, what do you expect? You discover that you cannot have a very conducive atmosphere for participation in the election.
So with all of this you said, but a lot of persons still try to link or taxonomize the Nigerian youth to be majorly online activists and also online campaigners outside being protest leads, because this is where Nigerian youth stand. They always come out to protest and they always come out to speak up on the social media. If you go by this narrative, a Nigerian youth actually ready to participate in the electionary process in order to develop the country politically. That's on one hand. On the other hand, you've spoken about the fact that there's been some form of a cognitive orientation under the political culture of the country. Now, because when we talk about the political culture, we still have to split it back into three different, the cognitive orientation, the affective orientation, and the evaluative orientation, and what have you. Now, if we go by all of this put together, can we actually blame the Nigerian youth for where they are right now? Or rather, we should shift the blame to their predecessors?
Already vindicated the Nigerian youth by looking at the existing political stage being not conducive enough for them to actively participate in the electoral process. First, let's begin with your first question. You cannot divorce the social media from evolution. Currently, most of the privileges we have had as a nation came from the social media advocacy. For example, the likes of Very Dark Man, who has become so prominent. Some of their cries, some of their fights, some of their agitations have actually drawn the attention of government to do certain things. Number two, protests. For Nigerian youth to even be willing to protest in the first place, we should give them credit. Because without protests, I'm not talking about violent protests. I'm talking about positively oriented protests. Without protests, government will not sit up. And that is why in governance, we talk about checks and balances. All of these things bring about checks and balances so that there will be no excesses. And nobody will come into government and then become power drunk. Or called power intoxicates and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, and that is the place of the social media, and that is the place of the protest by the youth so far. But I believe that the Nigerian youth are not afraid to take the center stage. What we are craving for, what we are advocating for is that any leader that will be remembered for many generations to come is that leader that is going to bring about equitable representation void of ethnocentrism. A leader that is going to bring about equal opportunity for young people where their lives, security will be guaranteed at the end of the day. Currently in the country, our political stage is characterized by thuggery. Who are the people that sponsor thuggery? They are the elite. Prior to their coming in, their predecessors never did that. The election that brought in the likes of Enki Abiola was notably known to the world that he won credibly. But he was arrested at the end of the day. It was not because the election was not free and fair. It was free and fair. And everybody knew he won the election. Thuggery was not much like we have it today. And I think one of the reasons why thuggery is so dominant in the current political stage is because the poverty ratio is on the alarming. It's on the alarming. If the economy is good. Now, there was an illustration of a politician who had to take a chicken, remove the feather, and then at the end of the day, threw some grains to the chicken. The chicken still went back to the man that actually pulled off the feathers. What does it mean? Our politicians take us to the extreme where they impoverish us. Then on the day of election, they just bring in small coin. And at the end of the day, because we are on the survivor side of history, we just take the coin and do their biddings. But if there's electoral education, people will get to understand that what you take today becomes your future. If you take 10,000 naira today and sell out tomorrow, then you have no power to complain. Because currently, vote buying has become the order.
So you don't think at this point that Nigerian youth are lazy when that's to do with even being studious with political activities other than blaming their predecessors? Because one would say that education is the key. So once the key is not acquired, there's bound to be retrogressiveness in the system. So you're not thinking along this line?
Well, I would say politically, Nigerian youth are not lazy. Nigerian youth participation in the last election proved that Nigerian youth are not lazy. For them to turn out, as opposed to the previous we've had over the years, to participate by having 37 million youth register for voting.
And that only 31 and less than 30 million
voted at the end of the day. You understand? Now, why would you think that a lot of people ended up not voting? By privilege, I happen to be one of the electoral umpires. In some of the polling units, the machines weren't working. Imagine an election that was supposed to commence from 8 a.m. Some of the polling units, the election commenced at about 12 noon in the afternoon. At the end of the day, they tell you that the machines weren't working. I think the first thing we need to do as a nation is to ensure that there is credibility, political credibility, electoral credibility. Then we begin to apportion blame on the youth, whether they are ready to take governance or not. But when the stage is polarized, or when the stage is messed up with political idiosyncrasies, you understand, you discover that a lot of youth will be disengaged from participating in the electoral process. Even you, if I ask you to rate the electoral process of Nigeria, what percentage would you give?
Well, let's take it as I'm the one asking the question today.
Is it okay? You're asking the question.
Yeah, so let's return back to the role of youth when it has to do with politics. The Nigerian youth have been taxonomized and also been classified that their role basically when it has to do with the politics of Nigeria is to be electoral observers. Their role is to be electoral box snatching. Their roles is to be campaign managers and what have you. At the end of the day, they get positions as SA to whoever occupies that office. Now, this again, this narrative, which has lingered from 1999 till date, has become a practical standard for even our nascent democracy in Nigeria. Can the Nigerian youth actually move away from all of these positions and all of these promises and all of these activities within the political space based on your observation?
Going by the word can, I would say yes, we can. We can move away. And that's why I continue to tell you that the first thing that we ought to do as a nation is to embark on electoral education.
And you think INEC is not doing that enough?
INEC is not doing that enough. And I don't think INEC is willing to do that enough. INEC is not willing to do that enough. Because when I know your secret, I might use your secret against you. But as long as INEC is not doing, we still have some well-meaning Nigerians that should come out, sponsor the young people to carry out electoral engagement with other young people. Because the average Nigerian youth has already been discouraged from participating in the electoral process in totality. Why? Because he already concludes that elections do not count. So with this philosophy of elections do not count, until that philosophy is truncated or thrown into the dustbin of history, nothing changes.
But election does not count, but the youth already have their roles, even in electoral situation, which I highlighted to you.
Now, I will be very practical with you. Most of the youth that engage in some of these roles you are talking about, just engage in order to get, you understand, survivor. At the end of the day, at the end of the toggery, they get paid. It's not free. At the end of the day, they become SAs. They just earn living, but they are not living. But it's not their fault. Man continues to move. Motion is one of the things that cannot be erased from the sand of time. So because they have not been given the center stage does not mean they should go into extinction in totality. They just want to make their voices heard to some degree. And that is why they do some of the things they do.
And they take up the roles that have been assigned to them.
Well, if you get to realize, even from the ministries, down to the political scene. Those who are the aim of affairs are the older generation. They are the ones with the cash. They are the ones that dictate the tune.
So you're saying at this point that generational gap,
There's
political
a big
generational gap, is one of the reasons why the youth are not emerging.
That is why they are not.
So you're not also saying at this point, because there have been a lot of speculations, even outside the shores of Nigeria, that the Nigerian youth are the reason why the political space remain what it is today. As a matter of fact, that posterity will not be fair in judging Nigerian youth because they become the bane of political growth in Nigeria. But when you look at all of this narrative critically, how correct is it to say that Nigerian youths from the age of 18
to 40,
let's even look at 39, have been wicked to the Nigerian system? How correct is it to make that assertion?
To a large extent, that may be correct, but to some extent, that is not totally correct.
So give us let's get the correct.
Let's take an illustration from the EndSARS campaign. The EndSARS campaign was one of the biggest movements among the Nigerian youth since the inception of democracy. But what happened to the EndSARS campaign? A lot of young people died because they were demanding something from the government. What has been done? Who has been prosecuted in the for the cause of the death of these people? Even the judiciary has not been fair on the younger generation. Nobody has been brought to book. Lives of young people went down the drain. Nobody talked about it. If you happen to be a senior brother to someone else, you will use that as an inference. You will use that as a reference point and tell somebody, you are not the first person to do this. A lot of people did, and a lot of people died at the end of the day. Nothing was done. Nobody was prosecuted. Nobody was booked down at the end of the day. So youths over the years have tried a lot of things to make their voices heard. But because of the generational gap, like you earlier said, it's going to take us a while, to be honest with you, to get back on track. And like you said again, morality value system was so prominent in those days. But currently, the most dominant factor for existence is the cash. And people go all out just to get the cash, irrespective of the value system they deposit on the table. But
if the youth keep manipulating the system, if the youth keep getting involved negatively within the political space, are the Nigerian youth not wicked when it has to do with politics?
This is where it begins with me and you. This is where it begins with me and you.
So you are agreeing to the fact that Nigerian youth are wicked?
They are not deliberately wicked.
Okay, what do you mean by deliberate wickedness?
The society made them wicked. The society pushed them to a corner where they have learned.
So but you agree that they are wicked?
Of course, we have been wicked to ourselves because we have been deformed already. Deliberately, we have been deformed. We have been denied certain education. I know the fastest way to kill a people is to deny them access to information. A lot of Nigerians, it's just like returning back to the Bible. Is that okay? The days of Paul. Paul was busy persecuting the Christian. For him, he was doing something good for himself until he was enlightened that you are fighting for me. At the end of the day, you are killing me. Talking about it from the Christian perspective. Until he got that education that killing these people, you are not fighting for me. Rather, you are killing me. His orientation changed and he became a generational figure. He became a generational life changer in the Christendom. So a lot of Nigerian people don't even know why they are doing what they are doing. For them, they are surviving until they are given. If a man has no reason to wake up tomorrow morning, when tomorrow morning comes,
you're talking about all of this. You've meant from Paul to right now on morality, but you agree with me that at the age of 18, based on Nigerian constitution, means the age of maturity.
Of course,
and of course, a person that is matured should know what is right from wrong. So when a person that knows what is right from wrong continues to do what is wrong and expect it to be right, you're saying that the justification for it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, please.
I'll give you an
Even though I'm the one asking the question today.
If a child is left by the mom or the dad for 3 days without food, and possibly there is food in the fridge, And possibly the parent may have told the child, don't open the fridge, don't take anything from the fridge. And unknown to the parent, they didn't know they were not going to return back from where they went to. After 3 days, the child is starving, and he opens the fridge and he takes the food. Meanwhile, he has been instructed not to eat the food from the fridge. Are you going to blame it? Are you going to say that child stole? That child has just taken the food for survival. Do you understand? Nigerian youth, how many Nigerian youth have access to the best of the jobs in this country? Now, if you go to NNPC, the jobs available have been relegated to those at the top level. They nominate, they choose, they submit the proposal of their children, and they get these jobs. It's the menial jobs that are left available for the peasant or for the common man at the end of the day. So the first thing man does for himself is to first survive, then learns to fight. So when a man has not survived, how does he learn to fight? So the Nigerian system first must be economically suitable for the young people, so that they can be sound psychologically, emotionally, to begin to advocate for what? An active electoral participation. But first, if I take the responsibility, you take the responsibility, a few of us take the, like some of us are already doing within our realm of operation. But how much do we have in our coffer to go bigger, on a bigger scale in this education or electoral reform process that we are already embarking on as young people? Until I tell you the danger of what you are doing, you may not even know the danger of what you are doing. Most of the vote buying are done with the youth. Most of the toggeries are done with the youth. You are right. Most of the electoral malpractices, the young people are being used to perpetuate all of these things. But they just want to survive. But we cannot continue to survive. And that is why I'm here today, to advocate to the young people that whatever you take today cannot sustain you even beyond next week. At most, they give you 100,000 naira. Well, 100,000 today in Nigeria.
Before you start advocating, you've spoken a lot about voters' education.
Yes.
And you've said that INEC are not doing enough.
They're not doing
when
enough.
it has to do with voters' education. Well, INEC will tend to disagree with you on that, but let's not hold sway for INEC. Let's come up with a time frame. If we are to educate the Nigerian youth, and we have to change the whole narrative of and bring us back to that cognitive orientation of a political culture. If we're to go by this narrative and put a time frame to it, how long do you think it will take Nigeria to juggle back to development when it has to do with our political participation?
Actually, it's going to take a while.
A time frame.
It's going to take a while.
So are we looking at 2
I
years?
want to present a scenario
Please
to you.
go ahead.
In those days, we had history as a compulsory subject in our various schools, from primary school to secondary school. If you remember, a time came in our history, the history was taken from our curriculum. It became subject to your personal decision to take it. At a point, history disappeared from our educational system. When people, the younger generation, cannot tell of the past, certainly they cannot tell of the present. For you to dwell in the present, you must draw inference from the past. Most of the things I know today are product of history. But this current generation are devoid of history. If you ask the average child, even in your house, to tell you a little about what happened in about, let's say, 50 years, that child may not be able to tell you much. Why? Because history has been thwarted from the educational curriculum. So let's start with that first. So history has to return back. We need to know the works of our heroes past. We need to know their devotion. We need to know their commitment. We need to know about their struggle. We need to know about their patriotic spirit. Then we now begin to learn to imbibe the spirit. A lot of people can't even tell you much about Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe.
Well, so for now, there is no time frame.
About Macaulay.
So for now, there is no time frame.
Okay.
There's no time frame for political education.
It depends on the robust nature of that education. A robust electoral education can actually take, within the space of 3 years, Nigerians will wake up.
All right. So let's move away from that conversation. And also, a lot of young persons have accused political parties of imposing candidates and commercializing nomination forms. You speak largely for a lot of young people in the country. When you look at the scenario, can one say it is a deliberate attempt to shut young people out of the system?
Of course, the situation answers for itself already, where young people have been suppressed deliberately. What can they do? We live in a world where the man who is at the helm of affairs dictates the tone and the pace of your movement. There is nothing you can do. Dino Melaye would always say, if you speak, you die. And if you don't speak, you die. But how many persons are willing to die? A lot of people are not willing to die. Because even if you die, you may not be remembered. In the current Nigeria, we have a lot of footballers who played for this country patriotically. Currently, they have been forgotten. Their families have been forgotten. We have a lot of people who devoted all of their lives. Military men. I have a lot of them living around me. People fought for this country. Immediately they died, their children abandoned, their wives abandoned. Would you want to fight for such a country? However, I'm still insisting that we cannot, because of what is in existence, live with what is happening and not fight for the future. But for us to fight for the future, we must massively and collectively come together as a generation of young people to fight, to demand for what is rightfully ours. Otherwise, and like the president will say, power is not given, power is taken. So until the young people learn to take power, it will never be given to us on a platter of gold.
Well, as preparations for the 2027 elections intensify, do you foresee young candidates making significant electoral breakthroughs in 2027?
I do not foresee that. Currently, let's microscope the existing order. From the APC, who is the presidential candidate? The ADC, who is the presidential candidate? The NDC, who is the presidential candidate? These are I think currently, the PDP.
The big four. Yeah.
The big four, you understand? Who are their presidential candidates? None of them is less than 50. So how do the young people get the center stage?
Well, one would say that there are other political offices, not just the House of Assemblies, and also looking at the state government houses and all of this put together.
You see,
we had other tiers of government.
I must be sincere with you. Over the years, you need to understand that there are offices that shape policies, and there are offices that act as puppets to other offices. There are 3 tiers of government. Am I correct? Organs of government. We have the executive, we have the legislative, and then we have the judiciary. Even those at the helm of affairs in the judiciary, they are older people. Those in the legislative, they take injunctions currently. That's why a lot of people say rubber stamp, National Assembly. They take injunction. They follow the dictates. They follow the tempo of the executive.
Instruction, you mean?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I call it instruction. They do the biddings, not of Nigeria. They do the bidding of the executive. So putting the young people at that floor, you can't get significant change. For Nigerians to get significant change, then you begin to talk about Nigerian youth emerging as governors of their states. The likes of Governor Oti may not be that young, but I think it's in between. You can see the significant changes that has occurred in Abia already. Now, so if you are looking for change, talk about governors, talk about becoming...
Yaya Bello was a young man.
Of course, when you talk about a lot of people, I have been waiting for you to say that.
Yaya Bello was
one young man that we actually celebrated. That finally we've got a young man as a governor. But personally, I don't know about you or other person. It was one young man that disappointed our expectation. He defeated our expectation. He never did according to what we expect. He was supposed to be the mirror You understand? It was supposed to give us a reason why young people should storm the stage of politics. However, you cannot use only Yaya Bello as a yardstick of analysis. We've had a lot of old people.
Well, you mentioned governors.
Yes, a lot of old people fail this country in their large numbers already. So to single out only Yaya Bello anyway.
You mentioned governors. So I just wanted to give you an instance. You're doing the part of National Assembly. So I wanted to just help you out.
We still have a lot of people in the National Assembly that have done their best. They've done their bit in trying to salvage a lot of economic chaos in the country. I think currently my boss, Honorable Gaza Gbefi, is a youth-friendly representative. I think I was privileged to meet the likes of Honorable Nicholas Mutu, one of the longest-serving House of Rep in the history of the country. Is one man that I can tell you that he has impacted the lives of a lot of young people. Personally, I can attest to that. And we had the likes of, in fact, a lot of them in the legislative arm.
Well,
doing incredibly well. But the legislative arm cannot do so much. For youth to be recognized, we need the executive arm.
Well, the executive arm also, local government under the Schedule 7 of the Nigerian Constitution also recognize the local government.
I wouldn't want to I don't want to mention the local government at all.
So you are saying that the local government doesn't have...
I don't want to mention...
If you participate in the local government, they cannot recognize...
I don't want you to talk about the local government.
Why?
One of the big achievements of the current president is the autonomy of the local government. But the autonomy of the local government has been watered down by some of the political power brokers, not allowing it to work. So currently the local government system is not effective because they run under the dictates of the governors. In the last local government election, I wouldn't say there were elections in Nigeria. Most of the local government chairmen were handpicked by governors and placed in their position. So how do you expect the local government power to trickle down effectively to the local, then to the other members of the grassroots? For now, we don't have a local government until the policy of Mr. President on the autonomy of local government comes to stay fully. And for it to stay, Nigeria must fight for it to stay.
Comrade Isaac Owocho.
Yes.
As we begin to wrap up, let's look at the whole, let's have an overview of the youth in politics in Nigeria. We've been able to speak about a lot of things, but then I'm curious at this point, going with all of this narrative, is there light at the end of the tunnel for the Nigerian youth within the political space?
As long as man breathes, there's always light or darkness at the end of the tunnel. We mustn't get to the end of the tunnel because you even need light to get to the end of the tunnel in the first place. Without light, you may not even get to the end of the tunnel. So there is light because we are not done yet. We are an evolving nation. A lot of people compare Nigeria with America. I see that as absurd because we are talking about a nation that is not even 100 yet. I'm talking about a nation that is over 200 years already. So far, Nigeria is a developing nation. We may not be where we want to be, but we are not where we used to be any longer. A lot of things have changed. A lot of philosophies have changed. Technologically speaking, the young people are quite engaging. And thank God for the social media, where we have a lot of young people having their presence being felt already. So we still believe, we are optimistic that tomorrow is going to be better than today. The young people are preparing. There's a generation of army that Nigeria is yet to discover. The only thing we are just asking is that the leadership that is going to be remembered forever is the leadership that's going to create an enabling environment for the younger generations to thrive.
And the young people will not take it by force, as you've said, according to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You've said, he said power is not given, power is taken. You think...
Like I said, we are an evolving nation.
And the young people that are not ready to take power, they are still evolving.
We are,
it's
okay. Evolving. Well, we are evolving.
The young people, you said they are not lazy.
We are not lazy.
They are evolving.
We are not lazy.
But they are not ready to take over power.
We are not late because the survival rate of the Nigerian youth overwhelms the survival rate of any youth anywhere in the world. Whatever we lay our hands, anywhere in the world, we always emerge highly successful. It tells you that there is a fighting spirit that lives on our inside. There is a survivor spirit that lives on our inside. Take it from the academic point of view, anywhere in the world, the Nigerian youth can beat any youth anywhere in the world. Go into sport, go into technology, go into any realm of operation.
All right.
So we are not lazy.
Just before I let you go, what role should Nigerian youth now begin to play within the political space?
Fundamentally, Nigerian youth should come to the level where they say no to political thuggery. Nigerian youth should come to the level where they say no to peanuts and begin to canvass for a major stake in nation building. Nigerian youth should desist from believing that votes do not count. They should continue to believe that votes count. The 37 million people that registered in the 2023 election should come out to come and cast their vote. And currently we have had more registered voters. So technically we might be having over 50 million youth with the voters card. 50 million youth with their voters card coming out to vote can shape, can change the political narratives of the country. We should not sit behind the scene and watch. We should all go out there to participate, not just to cast our vote, stand there and defend our vote and ensure that our voices are heard.
Well, Comrade Isaac Owocho, I wish we have more time to continue, but let's at this point let me say at this point, thank you so much for finding out time to be with us here on Korero.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here on Korero.
Well, viewer, this is how far we can go tonight on Korero. Do not forget that you can leave your thoughts, you can leave your comments on our various social media handles currently showing on your screen. And you can also download the RapidTV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your night rest. Bye for now.